That's the music. And when you hear that music, it's time for the Eddie Burke, the Eddie Burke contributor, Mr. Kevin Scholla, to be here. It's a weekly issue. And every Thursday, about this time, about this place, Kevin Scholla comes on, talk about everything that's relevant. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Mr. Burke.
Hey, it's good to hear from you. What's going on in Kevin Scholla's world?
Well, everything's okay here, just trying to contain the children.
Hey, did you notice? That's nice. Always nice.
I don't want, you don't need any live action, unforeseen action on the radio here today, and you could get that, especially if Batman gets involved. My daughter listens pretty well, but
yeah. Well, that's great because see, it's a real show. It's a family show, man. Four children myself, so we all understand that. That's good. It makes it great because then when we hear your children, we're wondering like, oh, I wonder how old they are. Or I wonder what his children are. Is that a boy or is that a girl? And so that's what people are thinking. So tell us about.
Don't worry, it's a safe bet that at some point we'll be interrupted during this season. So.
How old are your children?
My daughter's 5 and Batman is 3.
And Batman is 3, absolutely. And Batman is alive. And does he have the cape and everything?
Yeah, I'd say about 45 of the last 60 days, full costume. So, I'm walking down the street on March 15th, and it was Purim, and I said, any Jew who drove by probably thought my little Christian child was a nice little Jewish boy in his costume, and no, basically it was just Saturday.
Well, I know I don't need to tell you this, but as a father of 4, and they're all grown, they're all in their mid-20s to early 30s now, just savor every moment of it, brother. Just savor every moment of it because it goes by so fast, and I know you've already noticed now that they're already 5 and already 3. I know that's still very young, but yeah, just savor every moment and try to do everything you can with them because you'll blink and they'll be 30 and you'll just go, wow, what happened?
I hear you already. It's been quick. It's great stuff, though, and a lot of fun. We have a great time.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, you and I were talking this week about Sarah Palin and Point Thompson, and Point Thompson's been in the news lately, and I know but, Sarah Palin was one of the things that really I appreciated her was that she took on the oil companies. And in Point Thompson, they stalled. And just to help the audience out, in Alaska, no one owns the subsurface right. Well, not no one. The state, the people of Alaska own the subsurface rights. And so, therefore, we provide lease rights to these subsurface resources. And people get these leases, and guess what? I'm not speaking to you, but they do not perform. They don't perform under the guidance, under the language of the lease. And they just get the lease and they just sit on it because they look at it as, well, heck, why should we drill there? Why should we start exploring here or there? We own the lease rights. We'll just sit back. Alaskans want their resources developed. That's how we earn money. But sometimes from an oil industry standpoint, they look at, well, heck, we're pumping billions of barrels over here. Why should we mess with this? That's like money in the bank. But the bottom line is they're not performing. And Sarah Palin was really good. She took them to court and actually got some favorable decisions to force them to perform. How well have I got the story down?
You got it, Eddie.
All
Point
right.
Thompson in Alaska. I mean, you know about this, and I just find it a perfect example of something, again, that Governor Palin was not given proper credit for. We hear about the national issues lately, how she foreshadowed the situation in Ukraine and some of the other things that Obama's been up to. But, I mean, right in her home state of Alaska, it's another issue that has not been covered accurately in the media. And it's really remarkable if you think about her role in this. Palin's team took the hits about holding Exxon accountable, but now it's really a win-win for everyone. Yeah, Exxon spent about $3 billion the last few years, and it's all because of Governor Palin and her team. And
yeah,
when Exxon approached, and they tried this before, before Palin, Exxon approached previous administrations, going all the way back to your Governor Hickel, 22 different plans. It took something like 3 decades, so we're talking 30 years
Yes.
to develop Point Thompson as their lease requires. And, while Murkowski, for instance, started to take back their leases, it was who? Sarah Palin's team that took them to court. And I just think Alaskans need to know this. And, what's it all mean? Well, for one, Palin did the right thing again. And secondly, it means more producible natural gas.
Now tell people what's actually going on and what has happened in Point Thompson since that.
Yeah, well, Sarah, now you're
because Sarah brought him to
the
court, right, through the gas line issue. She says, hey, listen, if you're not going to perform, if you're not going to perform the leases, you just don't get to sit on the leases. You need to perform. Either develop the
Correct.
resources or get the heck out of here, and we'll get somebody else in here that does it. So then,
correct. And this is an issue, Eddie, of course, that's national to so many people when they talk about energy and issues along those lines. So now you're talking about more producible gas, and you're talking about Exxon doling out billions of dollars the last few years, and they did so because, the pressure that was put on and, the logic that was shown their way from everyone, and it was from Governor Palin and her team. And you look at the failed tries, if you will, of the past administrations and of others. This should be front page stuff. This should be something saying, hey, look, you're putting Alaska on the map again for something, and for something very valuable.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, and I tell you, there was a lot of us, even on the Republican side, on the conservative side. I noticed that the more conservative people were behind her in these actions against the industry, and of course the left was with her because they just hate oil industry. So anything you do that antagonizes the oil industry, the left loves. but we were in it for us more conservatives in the state were, and of course I interviewed Sarah on this several times during her tenure as governor, but that she would actually take them to court, that somebody actually would force them and would hold them accountable, because as you're as a citizen, even as a talk radio host, you're sitting here going, man, what is up with this? How come somebody doesn't take these people to court? How come somebody doesn't make them perform the document that they signed, the lease agreements? And the lease agreements clearly, as the court rendered a favorable decision, that they do have an obligation to perform under these leases. And it was just so nice, and at least I'll speak for myself, to see this happen and to see her do that, because I thought, finally, someone, you expect the Democrats to give the industry, because of what I said earlier, they just don't like them. But it was nice to see Sarah Palin stick up for the citizens of Alaska and get our resources to market.
We live in a country now where there's so many frivolous lawsuits. There's so, lawyers, understandably and rightfully so, a lot of the times have a bad name. And Governor Palin rails against those lawsuits, and she rails against those people. But this is an example of showing when it really is something that needs to be taken to court. The picking and choosing and the discretion of Governor Palin is right on the money. It's not something, willy-nilly, or we're going to do this and that. She would rarely do something like that unless it was so important to the state and the people of the state, and really, in turn, nationally.
Yeah, I'm speaking to Kevin Scholla. He's a Eddie Burke Show contributor, and he is also a columnist with Breitbart, and he hosts the SarahNetRadio.net. Did I do that correctly? SarahNetRadio.net?
Yes, SarahNetRadio.net, the Palin update each and every week. And this week we have T.W. Shannon, who's running for Senate in Oklahoma, just endorsed by Governor Palin, and he is really, really a super candidate and a great American.
How do you see some of these candidates this year that Sarah's endorsing, and just kind of the feel of what's going on out there as you've going to interview one of them at least, and then what's your perception of everything?
Yeah, we got another one coming on in a week or so. I think you understand the urgency, and you can feel it from Governor Palin, because she's tackling these things in the primaries. We're not waiting to find out who the GOP pushes our way and then say, oh, let's hope this person could win because the other person's just,
the least
unbearable.
of two evils.
Yeah. South Park episode put it one time that I probably can't say on the air between the Bush and Kerry race. But I tell you what, you understand that she is really going out there and finding the best possible candidates. When you look at a T.W. Shannon, when you look at a Ben Sass, when you look at a Chris McDaniel, these are guys that Palin has really vetted. They've asked her for her endorsement. She doesn't just give that out. She has to believe in you. You look at a guy like Shannon, he was down in the polls, and who knows what, as Palin says, polls are for strippers and cross-country skiers, but, sometimes they're somewhat accurate. And,
I have not heard that. I feel ashamed that I have not heard that before, but because of my involvement in the political realm, world and all, but that is beautiful.
and Shannon was down big. I mean, you're talking, I don't know, 27, almost 30 points, I want to say, and he's cut it to single digits just days after the Palin endorsement. And as Shannon put it, her endorsement is much more valuable than any money. And he's noticing that, because you have people, nationally who are looking at him. And if any state will make a right choice, hopefully it's Oklahoma, because I compare Oklahoma kind of to the Israel you look at Israel as our best friend. Well, Oklahoma is probably our best friend of the 50 states. I mean, they've gone pretty strong against these liberal policies that have been thrown down our throat these last few years, even when others have either gone the other way, like a North Carolina that voted for Obama, for example, or Virginia, or have, at least made things closer. Oklahoma's stood pretty strong, and this is a pro-life, pro-gun, pro-Constitution guy, so you can understand why Palin would be behind Shannon.
Yeah, it's I want to go to a break here, and when I come back, I want to talk about Mitch McConnell. I had you probably know Amy Kramer from Tea Party Express. She's the chairwoman, and we were they sent out, Tea Party Express sent out an email about Mitch McConnell saying that and it's kind of a quote unquote, we're going to crush the Tea Party, and I thought that was pretty overt, to sit there and actually go after him publicly. You can say a lot of things behind the scenes. Anyways, I want to talk to you about that, and then, of course, also that it's great that Sarah Palin vets these people, because we need good candidates. We don't need to get into the final round and all of a sudden we find out that they're a witch. It just doesn't, that probably wasn't her fault, and it was blown up to be something that was probably nothing, but still we have to understand that the media is going to make a joke about anything they can. All right, we'll be back with Kevin Scholla, the host of SaraNet Radio, and he's a Breitbart columnist. We'll be right back here on the Eddie Burt Show. It's 6:46. All right, 6:50 here at the Hot Talk KOAN studios. Welcome back. My guest, Kevin Scholla, the host of SaraNetRadio.net and the Palin Update, also a Breitbart columnist and a sports enthusiast, announcer, reporter. This guy is, when you hear Kevin Scholla talk about sports, you just got to sit back, cross your arms, and open your ears and listen. It's amazing the depth. And when you're in this business of news, you as soon as you hear someone start to talk, you can tell very clearly or very easily that they have a lot of substance. And so, Kevin, welcome back to the show. And so let's talk about this, the idea that that these establishment candidates, these establishment incumbents, the establishment Republicans, why is the Tea Party so feared? The only thing that we're for is fiscal responsibility. Get the budget in line. Let's get to the Constitution. I mean, why is that so evil? Why does Mitch McConnell come out and say that we're going to crush the Tea Party? What is so evil about what we're for, Kevin?
And they're stepping up the rhetoric, like you just mentioned with McConnell. I mean, this milquetoast talking like a WWE wrestler, throwing he's going to crush us now. We heard, wacko birds and all these other comments toward the Tea Party, which stands for what? The Constitution, what we're founded on, what we're built on.
Taxed enough already.
That's it. The basics. Back to the basics. And this movement, if you will, within the party from the other side, like you just mentioned, they are talking about American values. and American traditions, and that's out there apparently. Ted Cruz is way out there because he believes in these things. Um, they're scared for a lot of reasons. I mean, one is just that power grab. I mean, they are, they have an R next to their name. The other guys have a D, but I don't want to make too many wrestling comparisons today, but it's that kind of thing. I mean, it's we're going to have a good show on C-SPAN and fight it out, and then later on they're all sitting around together, like the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan having a beer after beating each other up. I mean, it's the same situation here with Boehner and Cantor, and you mentioned McConnell. I mean, the suspects,
right?
Same guys, because the Tea Party folks and those who are Reagan-esque, if you will, Palin-esque, if you will, they stand out like sore thumbs in a good way for us. But you could rattle the names off, and that's pretty pathetic. And they don't want to lose that power. They like the country clubness of it all. They're taken from the till just like anybody else.
Yeah, it's interesting. People can say what they want, and the news media can spread the words however they want to do it, and make the characterizations and all about the Tea Party and those 80, 90 guys or people, men and women, in the House. But they essentially have been balanced to all this, and sometimes the majorities are nothing more than a mob, and at least with these freshmen or sophomore legislators have been in the United States Congress is a balance. Wouldn't you agree with that they've been balancing kind of some of the actions and at least calling into check a lot of the issues that have been going on in D.C.?
Yes, and it's going to take a while because, like you said, some of them are just freshmen or sophomores, but as that groundswell starts to build and the grassroots movement continues, hopefully you'll get others like that. And I think that's what Governor Palin's approach has been. She's not just calling out the obvious craziness from the far left Democrat incumbents. She's talking about Republicans, too, that aren't up to snuff and saying, hey, we need to make a change in the primaries. We need to put real constitutional common sense conservatives out there as the nominee and dump some of these GOP folks as well. And she's also praising people, those who are doing a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, let's move on to some brackets. It's that time. It's March Madness. And, if you put a perfect bracket together, Warren Buffett, I almost said Jimmy Buffett. Warren Buffett is going to give you $1 billion, but as Chris mentioned to me, and I said that to you last night, was that you got a better chance of being abducted by what is it, those things called, a UFO, than you do, and that's literally true. So give us your take on the whole bracket issue.
Well, first, let me preface, I want to thank you for those comments you made about me and my sports knowledge. That said, anyone who listens to my brackets is a complete fool. I can guarantee you, whatever I tell you right now, erase this from memory and go the other way. I'm just speaking by past history, okay?
Oh, amazing.
You know what's crazy about the NCAA tournament is it's that it's
kind of like the Malaysia flight. Nobody really knows.
It's one and done. You look. Basketball is a sport that's supposed to be played in a series. Like the NBA.
Right.
But they do. This is football style here. You lose, you go, and all
You're
you
done.
need is one bad game. Yeah, everybody's high on Louisville, for example, who's a 4 seed and thought they should have been higher. Everybody's high on Michigan State.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. Both very good teams, both great coaches who have national championships under their belt in Pitino and Izzo. But you only have to lose once. And you look at the different brackets, I mean, some are more hellish than others, but all it takes is one stumble. And then you have some of these other teams. I think what you have to watch out for, some of these teams that are mid-majors, because they have the upperclassmen. So many of these bigger teams, they lose their guys right away. They have a freshman year, and then they go pro. Whereas you see some of these other teams, they have guys no one will ever make the NBA, but they're competing well in the college game because they have these older, experienced guys. St. Louis, for example, who hasn't been in the national scene for years, and they've slumped of late, but they start 5 seniors. That's unheard of in today's college basketball. But that's why they're even in the tournament, making free throws, making open shots, and making smart decisions.
Right.
So those are teams that you may want to see early on that could make, an upset. But this looks like one of those tournaments that I think toward the end will be the higher seeds will make it. I don't see a crazy high seed getting too far, but hey, you never know. Oklahoma State might be one to watch that could make a little noise as a higher seed. They're a 9 seed, but they got to play Gonzaga first, so that could be a loss right away. But if they get by them, they have a chance to maybe make some noise.
Now, well, let me give me a snapshot of your. We want to go to the Elite 16, but how about? Well, we only got about 2 minutes left. Let's go down to the Final Four. Give me some Final Four teams that you think will most likely be there.
All right, not to be too boring, but I do like Florida. They're the number 1 team overall. Billy Donovan knows how to win, and they've burned me in the past, so there's that warning again. But I do like the Gators. Want to go for an upset in the other region. Like I said, everybody is talking about Michigan State in the East, but I kind of like Virginia and Iowa State to maybe change that narrative and knock off Michigan State. So I'm going to go with Iowa State.
I'm writing this down.
Okay, good, because you can tease the heck out of me because by Thursday they'll all be eliminated. Let's see.
Okay, so we got Michigan State, and then
Florida and Iowa State.
Okay, Florida, Iowa State. Okay,
Florida,
go.
Iowa State, and then in the West, I'm going to go Wisconsin. And in the Midwest, I know this usually wouldn't be an upset. The team is the number 1 seed, but I'm going to stick with Wichita State. Everybody's killing them, saying there's no way they'll get through all these teams. You know what? They've been there. They have the experience. Let's see the Shockers shock everyone.
All right, and then the final 2.
Florida and Wisconsin.
Florida and Wisconsin.
Yes.
All right.
The Florida Gators, national champs.
Florida Gators, champs. All right, brother.
And hopefully, maybe Tim Tebow will be in attendance to get everybody upset.
All right, Kevin Scholla, thank you so much for being my guest today. Every Thursday. I appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you next week. Same time, same place.
Thanks, Eddie.
All right, bye.